and welcome to Calling the Audible Division C, Week 2. My name is James Floriani, and to my left is Mr. GM Cole44 himself. That is his Twitter handle. You can go and follow him at GMCole44. My Twitter handle is JFlowMusicMTL. If you want some FPF updates, feel free to check out our accounts. So it's Week 2. Saw a lot of good games this week. Anything jump in mind for you?
Well, we have the three that we're going to review, and honestly, we're starting to see patterns emerge. Teams are going to separate from the pack. This is where things start to get interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like the new teams, they start to gel together, and we see the contenders trying to show up. So our first game we're going to recap is Stockton Slap taking it 32-25 over the Commission. Joey Taylor with 5 touchdowns and 1 pick. Sean Avram on the other side for the Commission, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. You have Jakub Telemak and Sami Beg combining for 10 receptions, 170 yards, and Matthew Rupchich getting 3 TDs for Stockton Slap. What happened in this game, Jim?
For the most part, it was a very, very physical game. I spoke to Brent Callender as well. He talked about how starting on defense, Stockton Slap were able to get that first turnover that was key. Sean Avram started going from behind, eventually managed
Sorry, that's a funny thing.
So they were behind. They managed to march down the field, score.
Yeah.
It was a very tight, very physical game. Jakub, you mentioned a big part of that game, also dropped the pick six. That would have been defining for them, but Stockton Slap were able to hold tight. Yeah,
you mentioned last week how the Commission were probably going to struggle against a Joey Taylor led offense. We kind of saw that come to fruition in this game. What is it about Joey Taylor's system that he can just take it to whatever team and make it work?
I think it has to do with the fact that it's just sort of, it doesn't follow the normal rules that we think of, like the 5 yards and outs. There's a lot of drags. He throws on the run. He makes those crossbody passes that you don't expect to work, that with normal quarterbacks don't necessarily work. We've seen like two-handed over the head completions from Joey Taylor. He just makes it work. It doesn't look pretty, but it's honestly all you need to survive.
And it's been proven effective. And
yeah, absolutely. They do more than just survive. They're solid. It's almost as if you don't take them seriously, and it comes back to haunt you.
Yeah. And the Commission defense is obviously, I guess, it's always been their strong suit. Is their offense strong enough to kind of keep up and make them a contender in Division C this year?
C is very, very deep right now, so it will take a solid offense from the Commission to do so. They have the tools in place. Sean Avram has shown in previous seasons that he is that quarterback that can do it. It all comes down to just making those key 3rd down and 4th down plays, making those catches, and just being clutch. They have the capability. I just don't know if they're consistent enough to keep that up.
Varennes took it to Warhawks 39-18, and honestly, I was kind of shocked to see the score. That it was so one-sided. Anthony Vandram threw for 200 yards, 6 touchdowns, no picks. You got Fred Mallet on the other side for Warhawks. He had some interceptions issues last year, which we'll also get into later. This game, he threw for 179 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. You had Kevin La Liberté scoring 2 touchdowns on offense. He was a kind of a force to be reckoned with on Terra Squad last year. Do you have anything to say about this game?
Yeah, for sure. We predicted this last week. I thought that Warhawks were going to come in, bounce back, really use this as a springboard game to sort of get to 1-1. That wasn't the case. Varennes have been quietly getting it done. We talked about the addition of Vincent Jacques. He still hasn't played a snap with this team, and they're undefeated right now. You mentioned Kevin La Liberté. Both La Liberté is actually leading in touchdowns on this team. Warhawks defense have yet to cause a single interception. Not one.
You talk about the defense, yes, I agree. But it's only 2 games, right? You're not always going to get picks. Obviously, they're nice when they come. But then again, they gave up 25 last week and 39. That's not terrible. My concern is they've scored 26 points for. They have 26 points for in 2 games.
And no turnovers on defense.
But at the same time, if you're scoring an average of 13 points a game, you're not going to win many games in Division C. Fred Mallet, he had 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions through 2 games. you're not going to get very far with your team if you're a 1 touchdown to 1 interception ratio towards the season. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And for me, like, I saw La Liberté play last year. He's a very good defender. He's a bit small in stature, but he makes up for it by playing big. And you got Vandram at QB, playing QB for the first time since being the QB of Healthy Scratches. And he's off to a pretty hot start. Do you think he can keep up this momentum?
I think he can definitely keep it up. It's going to be difficult because he's not one of the, say, elite quarterbacks in Division C for sure. But he's a player who's played on the Maroons. He plays in Division 1, Division 2. He's very, very familiar with higher division football and what works, and can bring that down to the quarterback position.
The Honey Badgers escaped with a 1-point victory, 27-26 over Jägerbaum. Jordan Moses had 116 yards passing and 2 touchdowns passing. He also rushed for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. Simon Duchesne, we'll talk about him in a second. He had 93 yards passing and 4 touchdowns before getting injured. But the big story in this one is Duchesne's injury, his wrist injury. It did not look good. What can we expect at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I will touch on that just beforehand because I know that we're going to sort of go off on this tangent.
Yeah.
But last week we were talking about whether or not Mendy Cardishon would sort of step up and be that Cedric Knuckle type player, and I said that I don't know if he was ready to do that yet. Just coming out of this game with the 2 touchdowns, being everywhere on defense, he certainly made a case for himself. But the topic at hand was Simon Duchesne's injury, defending on a 2-point convert and kind of coming down on his wrist and breaking it. After that, they were stuck playing musical quarterbacks with Dalloz and Yannick Doston filling in.
Is it his throwing wrist or is it the other one?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So
any idea for a potential replacement, or do they know yet, or no idea?
You would have to ask them, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Maybe
I would
you heard
assume that it would be Yannick Doston, who is the quarterback of choice,
Yeah.
and who's quarterbacked in the lower divisions,
Right.
but it remains to be seen.
And on the other side of the ball, you have Jordan Moses. You know, obviously he's a great athlete. He's very shifty. He can obviously run the ball at will. Is this? I know we talk about this every year, and we talk about this every season with a bunch of different guys. But is Jordan Moses as a quarterback? Is he a good enough dual threat to push his team to the next level?
His passing game is catching up, but it's not there yet. Before the injury to Duchesne, there were a lot of incompletions and off throws from Moses. He didn't cause an interception, but there were sort of throws that were off point and causing them to not really get into a rhythm. It seemed like when they made the swap, that's when they started to march back. They made those key converts, those key drives, and Honey Badgers just snuck away with the victory. Doug McKernan led the troops and came out with that 2-point convert to win the game.
That brings them to 2-0. It drops Jägerbaum to 1-1. Jägerbaum now with, maybe they have a quarterback, maybe they don't. But do you think that's the season for them if they can't find a legit replacement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up. Even if they do find a legit replacement, the chemistry that Jägerbaum have, Duchesne on both sides of the ball, not just as a quarterback, but as a DB as well, who we're going to talk about. Yeah, that's a huge hit.
Yeah, tough break, no pun intended. Let's wish the best for Simon Duchesne, and hopefully he'll be back soon. Our next topic is we're going to get into the top 5 DBs in Division C. So GM over here put a list of his top 5 DBs. We're going to go through them right now from 5 to 1. So whenever
I'll talk about each of them. I actually did a little too much homework and couldn't come up with just 5, so I have 10. So I have the 5 that are just going to be the honorable mention, and then we can discuss the top 5 themselves.
Cool.
But my honorable mentions, because I couldn't keep people off the list in no particular order.
There's a lot of good players. So
Jordan Moses.
Yeah.
Simon Duchesne, who I mentioned before, Anthony Adana, Sasha Papich, and Jeremy Anderson. Those are my 5 honorable mention. Didn't make the top 5, but were really, really close.
I'll shout out a few other names just to shout out some really good players too. I got Kevin Lubin, François Raymond, Danny Aylward, Kevin Laliberté, even Vinny Golano, and
That's a ringing endorsement, isn't it? Even Vinny Golub.
Even Vinny.
That's a
Even
ringing
because I don't like.
Vinny,
I don't
Vinny,
like
you know
Vinny.
who you know
I don't
who
like
to talk to.
And Langbert from the Coyotes.
Andrew Langbert. Okay.
Yeah, Andrew Langbert.
So my number 5, a player who I've played with before. He's a big defensive name in the division and certainly in the league as well. Steve Sanner. Solid defender, has this sort of instinct. He's able to really read and make a break and jump routes. He knows how to cover short. He knows how to cover deep. He can tackle. He's really able to do everything for the respective teams that he's on.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with him being on the list. I would even put him higher, but he's and he's even improved. I find in recent seasons. Very smart player. He's obviously very athletic as well. When a ball's near him, he gets it. He controls a defense. I think that adds a lot of value to a defense because he can call a defense and he can do it the right way. So that I think he's definitely deserving of this top 5 ranking for you.
I think so as well. I feel like I would have wanted to put him higher, but he's had huge seasons, but there have been seasons where there's been a little bit of a lull as well.
Yeah.
And obviously not everyone can be number 1 or number 2, so you just go down the list. Number 4 for me, Sean Steen. Happy birthday, Sean, you made the list. Solid player on Eskimo Brothers, who haven't always been a really, really consistent team. For me, he'll play he's played hurt. He plays healthy. He just puts on a show and makes plays.
He puts it all out on the line, and I really respect Sean as a player for that, and as a person. Like, I know him to be a very cool, like, chilled out guy as well. Like, he's there for his teammates, and obviously on the field he wreaks havoc. So Sean Steen, happy birthday, and definitely deserving.
For me, number 3. I don't care that I play with him. It doesn't take away from anything. We're talking about the best players as a whole. Vince Nardone. He's a player who covers an insane amount of ground on the field. In a 4-1, you could throw a hook to your center, and he's the first one there to tackle. He follows plays down the sidelines. He's everywhere at once, and I think that very, very deserving of this list.
Yeah, and Vince is another player who's just a very smart player, instinctive player, and he just has some people just have like a football sense, and he definitely has that, and I think that has helped him become the defender that he is today. But yeah, definitely having played with Vince and against Vince, I can say that he definitely belongs on this list as well.
My number 2, you mentioned it would probably be your number 1, but I had a little bit more of a surprise for my number 1. My number 2, Jordan McLaren. Definitely one of the best DBs in the league, certainly in C. He's definitely an example of stats not always telling the whole story, because your QB looks downfield and Jordan's covering everything, and you just choose not to throw to that side.
Yeah, I mean,
you throw to Jordan's side and he'll make you pay for it.
Yeah, you throw on the other side of the field sometimes, and Jordan will make you pay for it. Jordan McLaren, for me, is the best DB in the entire FBF. For me, like, having played a bunch of people, I could say that I fear Jordan McLaren the most out of any DB. If I know Jordan McLaren is on the other side of the field, I'm probably not throwing to his side, and that's he's kind of like the Richard Sherman in that sense, where people don't even look his way anymore.
And so my number 1, I chose someone who I felt has been consistent throughout their entire FPF history. From when they came in, he's played on solid teams, not so solid teams. He's always been a performer for me. Kyle Lobovsky, someone who's just, we've mentioned before, everywhere on the field. He knows how to read the play. Solid tackler. He goes up for those jump balls. He's able to pretty much lock on any number 1 receiver or just cover an entire zone. He's able to do it all.
Yeah,
and I think for me, he's without a doubt the best defender in Division C.
I mean, I definitely agree with Kyle Lobovsky being very high on this list. I would
consistent,
consistent all the time. Numbers, puts up the numbers. Great team player. Always a good attitude, and on the field, like you said, he's everywhere at once. The thing about Kyle is that he doesn't back down from any challenge, and that's what he's a gamer, and that's what I really appreciate about his game, is that whenever the ball's in the air, there's no quit in him, and that's what makes Kyle such a dangerous defender.
So that's that. I will definitely post this list on Facebook as well, so watch the walls, because it's certainly gonna
going to
cause a
pop
stir.
up there. There you go. And
Yeah.
we'll have a solid debate on. I'm sure there's some guys that feel like some of their teammates belong on the list and they're not, but feel free to chime in. Next thing we're going to get into just a few bold predictions real quick. Just a few. I have three.
Yeah,
bold,
you had 3 that you prepared for.
yeah, 3 bold predictions that I have for today. Number 1 is that no-fly zone is going to allow less than 120 points throughout the season. Right now, I believe they're at 34 points in 2 games. I'm saying that in the next 8 games, they're going to give up less than 120 for the rest of the season. Do you think that's a decent...
Less than 120. It's
bold.
difficult.
It's bold.
It's difficult, but if there's a defense that's going to do it, it'll be them.
Yeah, like having seen them play last week against Brunch Buddies and Simo Dajane, I mean, you just have so many talented players and smart players and veteran players that have so much experience in this league. I think they're going to find a way to really shut things down. And giving up 24 points in a game, which they did, is not going to happen very often. I think most of the time it's going to be between 2 and 3 touchdowns per game that they give up. And if you do, as I checked their schedule too, and they play a few weak teams, so they can be on pace. They can definitely do this, I think.
So if you're on the no-fly schedule, you know what James thinks of you now.
I didn't say all, I said a few. But anyways, good luck to you if you're playing the no-fly zone defense. My second prediction is, unfortunately, because I really like Mint on that. He's a really awesome dude, but his team, I just don't see them winning a game this year, unfortunately. That's my second bold prediction of this Division C season.
I think that's really fair, unfortunately, as well. They're a team that, when you do the eye test, when you look at the division and you just say, I wonder why they're there.
Yeah.
They struggled in Division C last spring. And
in 3 before that.
Yeah, and C is a lot stronger now than it was last year. So
yeah. And they didn't really make any additions, exactly. So it's going to be tough for them. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. And my last prediction is that Fred Mallette will throw 20 interceptions this season. He's thrown 4, so he's on a 2 per game basis. So I'm saying that he was going to continue on that 2 per game basis. He's
or at least average that out.
Average that out, exactly. He's shown in the past that he is prone to throwing picks. I think that he reaches 20 this season in trying to do too much for his team.
Even in Division B, he did have his fair share of interceptions. I don't know if it'll hit 20 this time around, but unless Warhawks start putting up some numbers we were mentioning, their sort of lack of offense and lack of rhythm on defense, that it's an inevitability.
Yeah, definitely. Did you want to add anything or
no? I'm
predictions?
set.
Are good. Cool. So let's jump right into our weekly predictions, where I will list the games. GM, you give me a quick winner and maybe a reason why if you want. If you don't want, that's cool too. So let's jump in. Coyotes, Warhawks. I think I know your answer. You said you would always pick the Coyotes until they lose. So
I'm picking Coyotes.
Gotcha. Honey Badgers, Blues Bandar.
Honey Badgers.
Honey Badgers. Eskimo Bros against MVE.
I think that Eskimo Brothers are deep enough that they're going to take this one. They've definitely strengthened as a whole.
They're gonna give Sean Steen a nice birthday present.
Yep.
They're gonna come out with the win. Show me your TDs and Stockton Slap.
This is going to be a very, very fun game. I have to give the edge to Stockton Slap right now. I'm still very sold on that team.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Brocasian, Q-Port Lock.
Brocasian.
Agreed. Top Season, former Tomahawk.
Ooh, this one's definitely tough to pick. I'm leaning towards former Tomahawk, but I think the Top Season might be able to squeeze the upset on this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one. If I would have to guess,
on paper, I would choose former Tomahawk, but I think I'm going to go with Top Season out of instinct.
I'm going to go former Tomahawk just to be the voice of reason here. Lasso's Brunch Buddies. Don't give Simo the satisfaction. And peace.
Oh, man, yeah. You know what? Honestly, I was actually really surprised. I saw Jonathan Brown filled in for Lassos since they're without a QB.
Yeah,
so
and they kept it close against Eskimo for a while.
I will go with Lassos on this one.
I'm going to do it too, just because. Gotham Knights against Varennes.
Gotham Knights against Varennes. Oh, wow.
I think Varennes stays undefeated.
I think Varennes stay undefeated as well because they have that element of surprise right now. They're not a team that most of the division have seen.
Right. That's a good point. Your team, Top Sauce against Bearskins. I mean, obviously, you'll pick yourself. I'm picking Bearskins. I just like their team as a whole better. Killabees, no name.
I think I'm going to give the edge to Killabees on this one. This is both teams that are going to be. It's going to be a very scrappy game. It's going to be a very physical game. But I think in the end, it's going to be Killabees.
I think no name is
also wear pennies. Somebody's going to wear.
Yeah,
pennies.
no, for real. Like, week 3, like, come on. Well, I shouldn't say that because Legends, we just have no matching uniforms in Divet, so I feel like we should probably wear pennies too. No name, I feel, is kind of on a tear right now. Mike Roy has come in and really filled in nicely. He started off the season really well, putting up 40 against Keyport last week. I think that momentum carries over. I think No Name takes the win. Jaegerbomb, no fly zone. I mean, even with Simon Duchesne, this would have been a tough task. Without him, I don't see it.
So I'm going to agree with that one as well.
Evolution, the Commission.
I'm going to give this one to the Commission. These are two teams that are very familiar with each other, and I think that Sean Avram is going to slice and dice that defense.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Rick Cummins has come in and been very rusty as a quarterback. They've put up 12 points in 2 weeks against a tough defense like Commission. Yeah, Commission all the way. 69ers against No Big Deal. Does Jake Applebaum rebound?
No, he does not. I'm going to with 69ers on this one. I think their defense is going to be aggressive enough that it's going to keep Jake Applebaum off his game.
I agree. I think Dean Dimitriou has a good thing going with his squad. They really play like a team. No big deal. You know, if Jordan McLaren doesn't show up, we've seen that. You know, last week they struggled, not on defense, but on offense they weren't able to move the ball. We'll see if that can change this week. But I got 69ers. You have a lock of the week? Any?
Lock of the week. We mentioned the first 2 games seemed pretty out there, so Coyotes Warhawks.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Just undo the password. Thank you, sir. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go a bit. I'm gonna go Brocasian as my lock of the week to make it more interesting here.
Because you seem convinced of that.
I do. I think they will win. Keyboard is struggling right now. So yeah, how much time do we have? Okay, cool. So we're good to go. GM, good luck this week. Top Sauce. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you guys will steal my player away. Please steal Simon again, and hopefully not injure him. And let's hope for the best. So thank you from Chapman to myself to GM on my left. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you guys on the field.